Hey, Pete.
Yeah, Mom, how are you?
Okay, so we've got this issue. Okay, so with the trusts and the Māori trusts, right, and
Yeah.
how we had those hunters that were basically charged for hunting on their own land
Yeah.
by the trust
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Okay, so why? Can you explain the dynamics of a trust and the perils of a trust and having a trust?
Okay, well, it's actually very extensive, so but in a very simplified, watered down version, you got three main roles in any trust. Okay, and they are beneficiary, trustee, and executor. Now, we'll look at the situation of the will situation. Okay, so what happens is when someone's making a will, they actually choose somebody that they feel is worthy of administering their affairs after they've passed. Yeah, and that would be the executor of the trust, and then he appoints people to manage the trust for the benefit of the beneficiaries of the trust.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, the power role is the executor. So the peril of trusts is to
Put the wrong person into the executive position, eh?
yeah. Or what happens is because people don't know about trusts and they trust people like lawyers, and lawyers are liars. What happens is they
Oh my God! What do you mean?
they trust a lawyer to create the trust, and the trust is created by the lawyer, and he appoints himself as executor, and then they wonder why they can't get any of their stuff.
Has that happened? We had a customer like that.
Yeah, of course that happens all the time.
So people put the lawyers as the executor.
No, they don't know they are. They use the lawyer to create a trust. They realise that they're the beneficiary of the trust, right? Which is where they should be, right? And that they think the lawyer is a trustee, but he appoints himself executor, and then he appoints trustees, and then him and the trustees get rich off your money, while the beneficiaries get little or nothing.
And then later down the track,
you can't get rid of him.
Wow, so that's the perils of trusts, eh? And
yeah.
Is that what happened with the Māori, the Tūwhare Tall boys that what happened there? Can you explain the trust dynamic?
Okay, so
where the hunters
I'm not sure who the executors of their trust is, but I know that the executors appointed trustees, and the trustees said that if you want to go onto the land, you need to purchase a permit, right? And that's fair enough for those that aren't from that area.
But they did it. The trust
they prosecuted
their own
the hapu, who's the beneficiaries.
Yeah, that's
of hunting.
They actually got prosecuted.
They got prosecuted for hunting on their own land.
Okay, so that was the Taupo Judge Mackenzie at the Taupo Court,
and
right? A female judge.
Who were the Tūwhare Toa people?
Well, I don't know if we should say it, but...
Well, it's a trust. What's the trust called?
I don't know. I can't remember it.
Yeah,
but the problem is the judge should have known that that's unlawful.
Yeah, but the judge wants hunting to stop because they've got their own corrupt agenda. Yeah. So what they did is they sided with the trust because the trust is a legal mechanism, and therefore the trust had its inception gazetted through legislation, and a judge is a statute creature, so he has to follow all legislation.
Okay, if you understood none of that jargon, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you shouldn't trust trusts, right?
If you're going to have a trust, know a little bit about it. Appoint the right person as the executor. And
don't let the lawyers just run away with...
Yeah, because they'll just take all your stuff. Like, don't trust public trust. Public trust is terrible. I've heard that people put their stuff into public trust, and then the beneficiaries, they have to apply to get any of the money for anything. And public trust just keeps on getting richer with it.
And what about that other one with Te Puna Kokorī?
Te Puni Kokiri is a kind of a public trust mechanism. They have lawyers and they create trusts and they appoint themselves as executor, and then you can't get rid of them. And they basically control all of the assets of your trust forevermore, and they make you apply and jump through even larger and larger hurdles just to get access to the benefits that were put in the trust for you.
And so you had some customers, right, who were having problems with the weed thing, you know, and they, you know, the weed thing is so minor. They got in trouble for growing weed on their land or something, and when you looked into it, you found out that Te Puni Kokiri was the trust, or
The executor of the trust.
Yeah, and so the perils of that is that they make the rules, right?
Well, they were wondering why, you know, there was a whole bunch of stuff. It wasn't just the weed thing that was what they came to me for. But then they were talking about how, you know, they were having to pay, they were living in a house that was their auntie's, right? But because it was in trust, they were getting kicked out of it because they didn't want to pay the rent increase. But it's their house. Do you get what I mean?
So trusts are like a shambles, eh? So what's the solution? Well, how can you get about it?
Well, the first thing is make sure you appoint, if you're going to do a trust, make sure you appoint the appropriate people, man. don't just trust lawyers that they're going to, you know, when you go and pay when you pay someone, right, you're paying for loyalty. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting it entirely. It means that you're getting what you pay for. You know, they still have their own interests, and if you're not wise or you're not savvy to what they're doing, they'll appoint themselves as executor of the trust, appoint their mates as trustees, and then every one of them will get heaps of money for every piece of paper they shuffle around, and you'll be left trying to
figure out where your assets, what's happening to your assets.
How you can gain access to them.
Yeah, it's bad, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit more about the unextinguished native title?
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, well, for those people who have, you know, with hapu land or indigenous land, and they've gone to the Maori Land Court and they've turned that into legal title land, and now they're thinking that might have been, you know, the wrong thing to do, which we actually really do think is the wrong thing to do. We offer a method of being able to reverse that and turn it back to the unextinguished title.
Yeah, so you won't pay rates, but what you need to do is, say you've got Māori land or hapu land and you've got like heaps and heaps of family members who have title, we can't put your Maori land back into native unextinguished.
Without all of you.
Yeah, without. Okay, so then it needs to be hui. Make sure that everyone.
And get all of you together and you're all in agreement, and then we can make a documentation that includes all of you as owners on an unextinguished
as a hapu.
Title. Yeah.
Yep.
Right, and it can be reversed back to
and
what
it's
it
the
was.
safest thing you can do for your land.
Yeah, because
you won't get taxed, and it can't be taken from your mokopuna.
And you won't pay rates on it, but you won't be able to sell it either.
Which is great. So for those people who are true tino rangatira, who truly believe in being kaitiaki of Papatūānuku and kaitiaki of the mokopuna and mokopuna forever, then reverse the land. Because when it's in Māori land title, it's not protected. When it's at LINZ, it's not protected. And when it's, you know, what are the other titles?
Well, you know, you have
MAORI Trust. It's not protected.
Any title.
Yeah.
There's only 5 title types, but the one that has is the best one to have is unextinguished.
Yeah.
Native title.
Unextinguished native title.
No title at all.
Okay, then you can't get you know.
It's not rateable as long as you're living on the land in terms of tikanga. Then it becomes, once you've done this process, it becomes Maori land or Indigenous land forever.
Okay, and so the package costs roughly $500.
Yeah,
but if you split it up amongst your hapu members, you'll probably just pay $50 each, and it's quicker and faster. Pete can do it for you.
Yeah.
Contact any of us, and we'll help you out. But we do encourage people to do it for free for yourselves.
If you want to.
Yeah, do it for
research,
free.
Find out how to do it.
Everyone, please go and do this yourselves. If you require our assistance, we can help. It's $500. But please go and do it yourselves. You know, because we are busy as well, doing heaps of jobs.
All right.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. Anything else about trusts?
You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I could go into about trusts.
So how do you dismantle your trusts? What about that?
That can only be done from the top, you know, so the executor can dismantle the trust.
Oh my God, so if you've got the wrong person as executor, you can't dismantle it?
Well, that's what happens. That's what happens.
What about with the MAORI Trust? Can you get all the hapu members?
Even remember that our friend who's having trouble with inland revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had a trust created, and he was trustee, and there was beneficiaries, but he didn't know who the executor was. Turned out it was the lawyer, and then it got caught up in the inland revenue thing, and now they're trying to take his mother-in-law's house.
Who is? What, the lawyer?
The inland revenue and the lawyers, yeah.
What? So the lawyer who was the executive of the trust?
They started working with inland revenue because he had a tax bill from his business, and they've carried it over into his personal life.
Oh my God.
They've fleeced him of everything, so he's got nothing left, right? And there's still a debt to pay. So now they're looking at the mother-in-law's house because he's part of that trust.
Oh my God. So the trust structure was the lawyer made themselves executor, which is at the top.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The trust didn't protect. When what happened was people think they put their land and stuff into a trust and it protects them. No. If a person who's a member of the trust has bankrupted or defaulted, that trust then becomes part of a thing that gets siphoned for their debt. So any members of the trust can have the trust siphoned out if any one of them has a debt or whatever.
That's actually really bad.
It is really bad.
So the way to dissolve the trust is, with the MAORI Trusts, is you get the signatures of all the hapu members, right?
That's right.
And then
you can tip out the executor and you can tip out the trustees and you can
what's the process of it? So
okay.
Step one.
Okay, so step one is to vote the trust members out. And the hapu has the right to do that. You have to get together, you vote the trust members out, right? And then you vote the executor out, right? And then you just vote to distinguish or extinguish the trust and then dissolve it.
Yeah, and then everyone votes to extinguish the titles away from the MAORI Land Courts so that they go back to the purest form, which is unextinguished native title.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Peter, once again.
Nice.
That was a good video.